Welcome everybody to Coffee with a Cop today. We're going to, today we're going to be discussing active shooter situations and some life-saving skills that you can do if there is an active shooter situation. We'll be discussing first responder response as well as civilian response, and we'll answer some questions at the end as well. So let's see. I want to thank some of we've got a lot of people in the room. Wow, I'm just going down this list, and we've got some police volunteers. We've got some people from our Places of Worship network. We've got people from our Arizona, or let's see, ACOPS committee. We've got our mayor here. We've got some council members, Julie Pace. We've got council member Anna Thompson, council member Ellen and Dean. Let's see who else we have in here. Got our town manager. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass it over to, we have a firearm instructor. It's Officer Raja Kareem, and he's going to introduce our topic, which is active shooters. So I'll let him lead the presentation here. If you ready for that?
I am ready for that.
Perfect.
Is it showing up on the screen?
Yeah, everything looks good.
Excellent. Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Raja Kareem. I'm a police officer with the Paradise Valley Police Department. I have a presentation today on active shooters and things that you can do to mitigate that if you're ever caught in that kind of situation. So the course objectives here, we're going to go over some of the terms and definitions that we use in an active shooter scenario and an active shooter response. Some of the statistics, what you can expect from your first responders, and what we expect out of the civilians, or how they can help us mitigate some of these situations that we have. So an active shooter is where a suspect is immediately causing death or serious bodily injury. The activity is not contained, and there is immediate risk of death and serious injury to potential victims. A mass shooting is considered a shooting event where there are 4 or more casualties. That's according to the FBI. To mitigate these threats, law enforcement has an immediate deployment. So that means we're going to respond without delay to these kind of scenarios, and we are going to deploy our resources to mitigate these situations. Just some statistics here. In the 19 years from 2000 to 2018, there were 277 active shooter scenarios. Of those, 2,430 casualties were caused, 884 deaths, and 1,546 were wounded. This graph, this pie chart, gives you an idea of where these events have occurred. The majority of them being in commerce, 20% of them being in education. We have some open spaces, 13.4% there, 9.4% in government facilities, 4% in residences, 4% houses of worship and healthcare facilities. This is the police priority of life. This is our priority of life in any type of incident that we are involved in. The life of hostages comes first, bystanders second, police officers third, and fourth is the lives of the suspects. When we respond to these incidents, it's incumbent on the police officers to make contact with the suspect. The faster we get there, the faster these incidents resolve themselves. Our main objective is to stop the deadly behavior and limit the movement of the suspect. So we move very quickly towards where we hear gunfire, screaming, we hear what's going on. We don't stop to help people that are injured because that would delay us from getting to our suspect, which is ultimately going to end these type of incidents. As far as you're concerned, if you're ever caught in this type of incident, You want to run and get out of there as fast as you can. Don't worry about your belongings. If the building you're familiar with, you want to have your escape plan, probably have that all mapped out prior to any type of incident occurring in your workplace. And of course, you call 911 if you can. If you're unable to run, you try to hide. You go out of view, you lock a door so it's not an easy access into that area. You silence your cell phone so it's not going off and you're not getting texts and phone calls, giving up your position. And you hide behind anything you can. The bigger the better. Behind furniture, a copy machine, or something of that nature. And lastly, you fight as an absolute last resort. If you have more than one person, that's great. You'll be as aggressive as possible, fully committed, and have a survival mindset. There's lots of things in an office building that you can find that you can use as an improvised weapon, such as a chair or a fire extinguisher. If you are able to call 911 and contact our dispatch center, you want to identify yourself and your location, number of suspects if you know them, any type of information on that suspect. And we basically use a head to toe as far as the description goes. So if you think about it, you start with their face, their head, you work your way down, you get to their hands, you see what kind of weapon they have, if it's a long gun or if it's a handgun, and then what's going on. If you can stay on the phone, try not to hang up on the dispatcher unless you absolutely have to. So how to identify a suspect? We said think head to toe. Start with what they're wearing up there, their hat, their hair. Work your way down, see if they have facial hair, a coat, their shirt. What type of weapon's important, whether it's a handgun, the number of suspects. If you have an approximate age and race, that would work as well. So when officers arrive, they're going to be armed with rifles, handguns, tactical vests, helmets. They might look like the regular police officer you see getting out of a car in uniform, and they might not. They might have a tactical vest on that says police, because we're going to have officers responding from different jurisdictions, different agencies, and everybody who's on duty is going to go to one of these incidents. Officers are going to be going in there fast and furious to try to get to the threat. We'll be yelling loud, clear commands. We'll try to get you out of the building, show you where to go. Obviously, we want to see that you're not the threat. So if you have your hands up somewhere where they're visible, then we obviously know that and we realize that you're not a threat to us. So that's the best way to protect yourself when an officer is in the room or in the area that you're in, is have your hands up, have your fingers spread open so they can see there's no weapon in the hand. So if you have anything in your hands, you put them down. Your property is not important. If officers are directing you out of the building, which is usually going to be the way we came in, it's going to be the opposite of the way we're going generally, you're going to move that direction. You keep your fingers spread, like I said, you will be clearly able to see that there's no weapon in your hand. Obviously, don't make quick movements toward the officers. Avoid screaming and yelling. It just adds to the chaos and so on. We're not going to stop to give directions or anything of that nature. We're not there to help. We're not going to attend to the injured. We're going there to stop the suspect to prevent further loss of life. Main thing, keep those hands visible at all times. I'm going to go through a Department of Homeland Security video here. This will give you an active shooter scenario and how to respond with the run, hide, fight.
It may feel like just another day at the office, but occasionally, life feels more like an action movie than reality. The authorities are working hard to protect you and to protect our public spaces. But sometimes bad people do bad things. Their motivations are different. The warning signs may vary, devastating effects are the same. And unfortunately, you need to be prepared for the worst. If you were ever to find yourself in the middle of an active shooter event, your survival may depend on whether or not you have a plan. The plan doesn't have to be complicated. There are 3 things you could do that make a difference. Run, hide, fight. First and foremost, if you can get out, do. Always try and escape or evacuate, even when others insist on staying. Encourage others to leave with you, but don't let them slow you down with indecision. Remember what's important, you, not your stuff. Leave your belongings behind and try to find a way to get out safely. Trying to get yourself out of harm's way needs to be your #1 priority. Once you are out of the line of fire, try to prevent others from walking into the danger zone and call 911. If you can't get out safely, you need to find a place to hide. Act quickly and quietly. Try to secure your hiding place the best you can. Turn out lights, and if possible, remember to lock doors. Silence your ringer and vibration mode on your cell phone. And if you can't find a safe room or closet, try to conceal yourself behind large objects that may protect you. Do your best to remain quiet and calm. As a last resort, if your life is at risk, whether you are alone or working together as a group, fight. Act with aggression. Improvise weapons. Disarm him. And commit to taking the shooter down, no matter what. Try to be aware of your environment. Always have an exit plan. Know that in an incident like this, victims are generally chosen randomly. The event is unpredictable and may evolve quickly. The first responders on the scene are not there to evacuate or tend to the injured. They are well trained and are there to stop the shooter. Your actions can make a difference for your safety and survival. Be aware and be prepared. And if you find yourself facing an active shooter, there are 3 key things you need to remember to survive. Run, hide, fight.
There were a couple questions that were submitted, and some of those included what to do on scene, which we did end up going over, but just to kind of recap, remain calm, follow instructions from the officers on scene, Make sure you put down any items inside of your hand, including bags or jackets. Immediately raise your hands, spread your fingers if you're able to, and keep your hands visible at all time. Avoid making any type of quick movements towards the officers or even holding on to them for safety. Avoid pointing or screaming or yelling. One of the other things that they mentioned on here was do not stop to ask officers for help or the direction for evacuating. Just go the direction that the officers are coming from to leave that property. Somebody asked also related to that question about concealed carry permits, and if you have a firearm and there's an active shooter situation, be sure to try to identify yourself. If you are calling 911, identify yourself, what you're wearing, where you're at. Make sure you put down the gun. Don't point it at the officers. They might mistake you for an active shooter. In Arizona, the law does allow for any person who is 18 years or older to legally possess a firearm in open carry, and any person who is 21 years old, they're able to conceal a firearm without a permit. If you're considering having a concealed weapon, it's recommended to take a gun safety class and have proper training so you know how to utilize that. The Arizona Department of Public Safety, they have additional information on concealed weapon permits through their concealed weapons permit unit, and you can search that online at Arizona Department of Public Safety and search for the services. Another question that was submitted here was kind of related to our last Coffee with a Cop topic, and they asked, do you have a recommendation for a company that can add shatterproof film to my French doors in front of my house? And I would refer that resident and anybody else who's interested in getting some type of security laminate on their house just to do an online search for security laminate glass in Arizona, and then look at the different companies and search their reviews through the Better Business Bureau. That way you have confidence that the person or the service that you're working with, they're a reputable company. And then another question I have here was, I have signage in my front yard indicating that the property is being monitored by video cameras. What are your thoughts about adding a yard sign that indicates warning, property protected by Second Amendment security with an image of a handgun? And for this particular one, that type of yardage sign might have an inadvertent effect by providing a public note of firearms on your property. And some burglars, they target based off of certain items that they're trying to get. Most notable, people are looking for jewelry, electronics, money, personal identifying information, and some of them also are just looking for firearms. So I would avoid that particular signage in your front yard, only because it might be an indicator for somebody looking to target your house to acquire firearms. I think that the notice of the video cameras does quite well. I've personally seen on investigations people deterred from a house by seeing a camera. So they walked up to the house, and once they saw the camera, they walked away and went to another house. So that would be my recommendation there. And those are all of those questions there. Let me see if we've got any other questions that have been submitted, and we'll go from there. I don't see any other questions coming in. So again, if you have any other questions or concerns or anything you need, give us a call. We're here 24/7. And if it's a general community question about anything, you can always contact me. Thank you all for coming to Coffee with a Cop this week. Next month, we'll have it on the first Wednesday of the month. So save that in your calendars. We'll have the topic finalized quite soon, and then we'll send that out for everybody to enroll. So again, thank you everybody for attending, and have a wonderful week.